All right, so welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Strengthening Road Safety Advocacy, specifically strategies for rapid response communications. And as some background, our team noted that this topic of rapid response communications in the context of advocacy for road safety policies has been of interest for quite some time. And so we know that acting quickly and strategically, especially in moments of crisis or opportunity, can determine whether our messages shape the public conversation and reach the decision makers that we're trying to reach in order to make a difference. So today's webinar will provide concrete tools, real-world examples, and lessons learned from places like Mexico and India, where rapid response efforts have helped push forward major policy wins. Slide 2, please. All right, so just a quick agenda overview. We'll begin with a definition of what is rapid response communications. What are the specific tactics? Is it working with media, using social media effectively, mobilizing stakeholders, and then leveraging survivor stories? And then you'll also hear from colleagues in India and Mexico who have used these strategies in real time. And then finally, we'll open the floor for any questions. Slide 3. And now just a quick overview of our presenters. Arnold and Rinky and Areli, if you want to make just a quick introduction. I think most of the folks online know us through Karina and GHAI. Do you want to just give a quick overview of some background on yourself?
Sure, and I'm happy to go first. Just jump right in. My name's Arnold Miller. I've got almost 3 decades of journalism experience and a couple plus years now of marketing. So I come to this when we talk about rapid response and communication from usually the side of the people that you'll be talking to as opposed to the people behind the podium, but I can give you some excellent advice.
Fantastic. Thank you, Arnold. Rinky.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Rinki Sharma and I'm working with Consumer Voice India. It has been around 10 plus years since we are working on road safety, and this subject is very close to my heart, and it's nice to be here. I'm leading projects and I'm also a point of contact for all the internal and external stakeholders.
Thanks, Rinky. Areli.
Hello, everyone. I'm Areli Carreon. I am part of the crew of the Bicitecas in Mexico City, pushing for the use of the bicycle as a means of transportation for 30 years almost, 10 of which we've been working on road safety in Mexico with big wins. And now today I'm part of the team that is coordinating the National Road Safety Coalition that gathers 117 different organizations in my country. Nice to be here with you.
Impressive. Thank you, Areli. And Karina.
Good morning, everyone. So nice to be here with these excellent presenters. And as you know, I'm the Associate Director of Communications for GHAI. And I look forward to this presentation and any questions you may have afterwards.
Thank you, Karina. And I'm Cindy Olivares, Communications Director with the GHAI Road Safety Program. Also very happy to be here with everyone, and we will move forward then. All right, next slide. All right, so what is rapid response in advocacy? So we know rapid response communications should be strategic, timely, and they're coordinated actions in reaction to any breaking news. It could be sudden developments or critical moments that impact your advocacy goals or that impact the policy environment. So in short, it is a moment of crisis, but also it could be an opportunity and a platform for any change. And so why does crisis communications matter, or why is it important? So it really does help us shape the public discourse before any misinformation might spread. It ensures that the voices of communities affected by road crashes are heard, especially when the attention is the highest. And finally, of course, it influences decision makers while their minds are still open, and there may be a policy window that is still active. Next slide. And so what does rapid response look like? So as mentioned before, you may become aware of it could be a tragic crash or a government announcement, a controversial news story, or perhaps it's the passage of a new policy that you could be in support of or against. And so typically within hours, an organization's team activates. They might begin with crafting any messages such as press releases or statements, or engaging with the media, developing social media content, activating stakeholders and lining them up to make sure that they reinforce the messages for your organization. And so the idea is to not just react randomly, but instead with purpose, clarity, and speed. Next slide. And so with rapid response communications, there's typically an order of activities that might take place. So we realize that not every situation is the same. So this process shown here on this slide, it's more of a guide and of course can be customized. So the first step is usually identifying the issue. So we begin by spotting the issue, as I said, breaking news, events, or statements that will directly or might directly impact your mission and require a timely response. And then step two is to develop a response plan, right? So quickly map out what to include in your plan. Think about what the message might be, who your audience or audiences will be, and then what channels and messengers you'll use to get out those messages. And then three, very important, is to mobilize your support. So think about activating any allies or partners, experts that you might be close to, community voices to amplify the message and really push for action. And step four is to disseminate the information that you've gathered. So ensure that your information is going to your intended audiences using press, the media, social media, direct outreach, and this is to shape the narrative while the attention is still high. And then five is track and evaluate. So monitor the impact and adjust accordingly, right? So think about what worked well, perhaps what didn't work well, and then you can use that to sharpen your next response. It could be within that same moment, or it could be for a future rapid response opportunity. Next slide. And so if we think about the components of the communications plan listed here, and again, this is just a guide, rapid response planning might fall into your tactics and action plan category, or in some cases, organizations are able to enlist the help of a communications or public relations firm. But in either case, it's important to assign roles and responsibilities on who's going to take the lead when implementing rapid response once it's planned for. And then next slide. And so as we do with our routine communications efforts, it's going to be key to consider all the ways in which you might engage your audiences. So this might be via newspaper, might be via paid ads, newsletters, events, social media, and so on. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Arnold Miller with Gutenberg Communications to talk more about working with media and social media during moments of rapid response.
Thank you so much, Cindy. I guess we can go on to the next slide. So in rapid response, whenever you're doing something, every organization always has something about the ABCs. When you are learning how to be a salesman, it's always be closing. When you're learning how to be a pilot, ABC stands for airspeed, best place to land, and a checklist. Rapid response communication, ABC stands for always be calm. Anyone that is talking to you is going to figure out very, very quickly whether you are calm and in control of, maybe not control of the situation, but certainly control of yourself and the information that you're about to present. Or is your hair on fire? That's probably the last time that you want to step in front of a microphone or even pick up the phone to answer somebody's questions. Always be calm. What you basically want to do more than anything in this rapid response world is tell a story, however you possibly can. But you can't really exaggerate. You can't throw information out there that you don't have. You have to be very concise, stick to just the facts, what you know. If you can, attribute those facts to someone else. There were 3 people killed today according to, and then tell us where that information is coming from. That way it's not you saying that information. It is a source of the sheriff's department or the highway patrol or whatever. Somebody is giving that information to you. You are passing it along. You're telling everybody how, where you got that information. Excuse me. I would say that statements and press releases are something that are, actually, we can get into that. That's the next slide, I believe, if that's okay. Oh, no, sorry, we're on media lists. We'll get to statements and press releases. Media lists. When do you want to create a media list? Today. Literally, start today. Whatever you have, all the information of the journalists locally, regionally, nationally, anybody that you could possibly need to talk to. And these may not be just journalists. This could be the head of the power company. This could also be an influencer on social media. But you want to start compiling that list today, and you want to be able to, I don't know, I would say every 3 months, you pull it out, you look at it, you see if somebody has moved on, if somebody new is in town, whatever that is, you want to have a file that you can pull up at a moment's notice. And you do not want to wait until there is, forgive me, the heat is on. That's not the time to figure out who it is that you need to get in touch with. Also, the other thing that we find helpful is to break that list into specific categories, if you will. And I don't mean by publications or media, but certainly by event possibilities. If you are dealing with a natural disaster, the people that are going to talk to you about a natural disaster are going to be very different than the people that talk to you about a power outage. So you want to be able to figure out who and potentially, who is it that's going to be contacting you, and who is it that you need to contact in this world of a whole bunch of different things that can happen. And I'll just very quickly tell you, I was working for a company called Dow Jones on 9/11, and the Wall Street Journal is about 8 blocks away from the World Trade Center. And they were reporting on everything that was happening, and the buildings collapsed and they had to evacuate downtown New York City. They had a plan literally to go across the river into New Jersey, set up shop in one of their printing presses, and they had a bunch of literally computers and storage for just that purpose. So thinking of all kinds of different possibilities and having an A plan, a B plan, a C plan, and sometimes even a D plan is a really good thing. And we can go on to the next slide. Correcting the record, yes. So one of the things I love telling people is that a quote is always out of context, because you are not literally taking every single thing that I have just said and put it into the story. So by definition, you are taking every quote is out of context. You didn't hear the first part, you didn't hear the end part. What you really need to do when you are thinking about correcting the record is it factually inaccurate? That's the very first thing. If it is not factually inaccurate and it's a tone, that's a very different conversation. But if it's factually inaccurate, you need to quickly get out there and correct that information. And that's where those media lists come in. So if CNN is publishing something that is inaccurate, you know who to contact at CNN to get to a certain level very quickly, and they can change either the chyrons, the lower thirds, or even have an anchor break in and say something else is going on and we need to figure that out. So you need to have that media list on hand, and be able to just call at a moment's notice during that rapid response anybody that is affected by that miscommunication. And can we go on to the next slide? And social media. This is probably the one that is the most in flux at all times. Social media is everyone, everywhere. It's kind of like the movie, Everything All at Once. It really is. Everybody has social media. Every news organization has social media. Social media influencers have social media. I have social media. You will find yourself reacting to things that you may not need to react to. So when you find yourself tagged on social media about a specific event or occurrence, I would take a 2-minute pause and find out, is this something that you need to respond to? That's the first thing. Is this something that you need to respond to? And if it is something that you need to respond to, take some time to craft that response. A flippant social media response, yeah, we have it under control. Well, it might sound good right now, but if the fire reignites and the firemen come back, now you don't have it under control, and now you're a meme where somebody is saying, look, that guy thought he had everything under control. No, they don't have it under control. And that can just repeat. So as you think about your response to whatever it is that you need to respond to on social media, plan it out. Think really before you hit send. And of course, every social media is slightly different. What works on X doesn't really work on Instagram. What works on Instagram is not really fantastic for TikTok. So the other thing that you do, of course, have to do is be familiar with the platform and who the audience is that you're trying to reach in that sphere. And I think we can go on to the next slide. And that is where I turn that off to someone else, I think.
Okay. So thank you, Arnold. We are going to continue on identifying effective messengers. As Arnold pointed out, it is very important to recognize who your audience is and what is the best way to reach that audience. Is your audience reading the newspaper? Are they getting their information on social media? Are they going to websites? Be very familiar with how your audience is receiving the information and the information that you want to put out. Do they have policy skills, firsthand knowledge of the problem, technical expertise, celebrity status, relationship with the target audience, or seniority within organization matter? So here you want to understand, what is how to convey that message as clearly as possible. And not using jargon and using simple vocabulary and words, so the message is transmitted in a clear, concise way. And are you trying to persuade your audience? Is there a connection between you and your audience? Make it very relatable. Make it so it's something that they're understanding easily and clearly, recognizing the value of this information. Does the benefit of utilizer the messenger outweigh the political risk? And will the messengers refrain from political comments? So we're trying to not create controversial messages. We're trying to create messages that land very neutral, so we can respond, so you can get a response. Next slide, please. When you're lining up your stakeholders, as Cindy pointed out, it's important to have a process and a method of operation. So you've assessed the crisis, you've assessed why you're going to go out into the community and respond to something. You have your stakeholders lined up, and who's going to respond, how they're going to respond. You've decided what communication channels you're going to utilize. As Arnold pointed out, you have your contact list of media, your messages are clear, and now we're going to activate this network. So next slide, please. When we activate the network, we want to identify and prioritize our stakeholders. These are people that you have a good rapport with, you trust, you engage and involve them, you manage their expectations, you have a discussion on how things are going to happen, what could happen, and you ensure that everyone's on the same page. And for example, in Ecuador, we have been working on passing the law, the transit law, for over 3 years now. And in order to make this, in order to continue putting the pressure on our legislators, we are working with champions from the legislation and from the assemblies. And we've worked with them by training them on our key messages and having them go out to the public and speak on behalf of the public, of civil societies, as to why this is important and why is it important to pass the transit law. And so the Ecuadorian coalition has in place at different times, different people who are going to speak on their behalf and people who will make an influence. Next slide, please. And when you're conveying your messages, you want to ensure that you use data, and you use data that's been sourced and that's relatable. You have when, especially when you're quoting on social media, on your press release, on your website, and even speaking visually on TV or on any sort of media opportunity, you want to ensure that the information you're giving is sourced by, and you can source that information. You can quote who provided these sources. That will give your information more value and position you in a very reputable way, in a very respectable way. Next slide. In the case of Ukraine, they decided to launch a media campaign to respond to the lack of regulations that are being passed in terms of road safety. And given the situation in Ukraine, despite the war, the legislators are working to ensure that their country is safe. Despite the situation, as safe as it can be, despite the war. So, and legislation is being passed. They do want their country to function as normal as possible, and they are working towards ensuring that their speed and helmet regulations are being passed. And they're recognizing that more crashes are happening in Ukraine and deaths on the road than deaths in the war. So this is an important problem, and so they are having these regulations passed. And the coalition in Ukraine decided to launch a media campaign to address this. And here you can see some of the the visuals that were posted on social media, where different members of parliament were also enacted and decided to participate and demonstrate to the community and to the country at large the value of, you know, reducing speed and wearing a helmet. Next slide. And with this, and then lastly, the importance of really transmitting this story on how people are affected and working with people who have been affected by sharing their testimonies, their personal stories. And in both Colombia and in Ecuador, we have developed campaigns that demonstrate and single out the victims of the different car crashes and even deaths on the road. So really personalizing stories, working with people who have gone through something like this is very important and very valuable to any response. And with that, I will pass it to Areli. Thank you. Next slide.
Hello, this is two cases that we as a coalition of safe mobility in Mexico have addressed recently that I wanted to share with you as an example of what we do as a rapid response communication. Next, please. First of all, this happened on May 20th. This was the response to the homicide of a senior government official in Mexico City. Sadly, the woman that we can see on the image was the secretary, the personal secretary of our head of government in Mexico City, and was shot by a direct attack early morning. And we figured out and knew about this because we are following people press people that are into the red note, we call it. We are all the time focusing and reviewing and knowing what is going on our roads because we want to know first what's happening. And the first thing we knew, this was an attack, like a direct attack. Later on, like a few moments, this happened early in the morning. She was shot along with his partner in Mexico City's Mayor Street. You can see also the picture of the police reacting rapidly to this. And the first thing we knew as the events were coming through is that this direct attack used a motorcycle and another vehicles that the police were tracking. And as the developments were happening, this was happening, and this news was coming through. We identified that this crisis, these news were going to be big, not only in Mexico City, but nationally, and that we could issue a statement about the need of having a good regulation and control over the vehicles that we are lacking for years and years, that we know, and we've been addressing the decision makers in order for this to happen, because this has been a difficult situation for decades in Mexico. That is a need for the control of vehicles in terms of road safety. But this crisis on public safety was an opportunity to point out the urgent need of having control on vehicles. So next, please. We reacted very fast. As I said, while this was happening, within 3 hours, we mobilized calling for an urgent need to standardize vehicle registration in Mexico, as our law now says that this has to be done nationally. So we drafted a press release with a sensitive language because as an exercise, we all the time is part of our policies. People is always at the core of what we do. Like you need to have, there's somebody that has been shot. This is, shocking. This is awful. No matter how you frame it, it's a person that lost their life in a violent way. This has to be very sensitive, and you need to care about people's hearts and people's emotions. So we drafted this press release. We checked the data, from where, what do we know? As Corina was saying, what can we quote there that is information that is valuable for the press? We check the legal status. What does the law says about this? What has to be done? What is the legal framework? And then we also phoned very quickly, appointed experts on call for interviews to say, are you ready? Are you aware that this is happening? And are you ready to give interviews? And also we had an internal discussion on timing of publishing a press release under this crisis. And this is an image of what we put out. And yes, and well, we were able to do this in real time within 3 hours of first news happening at 7 a.m. And what is important to say is that we've not only the results of this rapid response is that now we have an appointed interview for talking about this issue in Mexico City, and this might have an impact throughout the country. So we kind of react rapidly, sharply, and humanely, like very sensitive to the persons, and then we are having a result on an ongoing discussion, technical discussion with the decision makers on how to have this registration of vehicles and order in all Mexico's vehicles register. So this was one example of how to react very quickly. And I have to say, it is not, all the time as we had an internal discussion whether this is something that we wanted to do, if it was sensitive, if it was the proper time to talk about this in the face of this awful violence and so on and so forth. But it's not, we might get into controversies, but you need to be ready, to bet and to expect for the best. You don't know if the outcome, what is going to be, but you need to be ready to act and be there acting upon something that is still in the news. This is, this hasn't gone away. This is still a conversation ongoing in Mexico, and this opportunity of raising this issue, we use it in the best possible way. This is one of the examples. Next, please. I'm going to talk about another example. We had to respond on June 3rd, the World Bicycle Day, on an opportunity that we didn't knew we will have. On that day, we have our president has an early morning, everyday press conference that is very popular. Everyone is, all the public conversations and all the political class, everyone is watching this very early morning press conference that goes on live every day. And in this day, on June 3rd, without knowing it, a reporter jumped in to say, hey, President, we are lacking the, sorry, it's coming out, asking for the harmonization of 11 state laws in Mexico, which is one of our priorities. And we were rapidly, because people were watching this on live, is like, well, are you listening? This reporter is asking the president herself about this issue. So we identified that this was something that we wanted to talk about with all the decision makers in Mexico as loudly as possible. So we act quickly and prepare a response plan. We check the data, the language, and the target audience very quickly, just in real time, like people that were speaking. The press conference wasn't over. when we had ready a response, we published it online. It was like that fast. And lined up our champions for support, like, and I will talk about how we do this fast. And then afterwards, once we put out this posts in social media, which is our main communication tool in Mexico, we contacted decision makers directly to push this effectively. Like, we all knew that our legislators, and are you watching the president? Are you seeing what she says? This is important. We need to do this and that. Next, please. I think we have a video that I want to show you.
Inició la Semana Nacional de la Bicicleta, un decreto que inició en 2021 el expresidente Andrés Manuel López Obrador. En este contexto le cuento que desde hace 3 años de que se publicó la Ley General de Movilidad y Seguridad Vial, impulsada por organizaciones civiles, activistas, con el objetivo de reducir las muertes por hechos de tránsito en el país, 11 entidades, en este caso mi estado Coahuila y la Ciudad de México, han arrastrado la armonización de sus leyes y reglamentos, provocando que las muertes viales pues suban. Mi pregunta es, ¿cuál es su opinión sobre este tema y el llamado a los diputados de los congresos locales para que inició la Semana Nacional de la Bicicleta, un decreto que inició en 2021?
You can see here it's in Spanish, but the reporter is asking her precisely what we've been telling the decision makers for 2 years now, and counting. That is urgent to do this in all these states that hasn't passed their laws on road safety, and that we are lagging and lacking that key legislation to save lives. So we rapidly cut this small piece of video and the president's response with our logo, and we just widely spread it out. And as I said, printed immediately on real time. How we do it, next slide, please. And I'll finish here with this. Next. What we have, all our stakeholders, like 117 organizations that are gathered on the coalition together on a community on WhatsApp, and everyone is ready to act. What we do is that we have every one of them organized. Maybe you can see this by state, and we post it immediately. It's like a breaking attention, please retweet, please go on. Like, we prepare the message. We, as I said, check the message, give the out and say, please retweet and tag your decision makers. This is the time we need to push this together. So we ask everyone in the country to do this. And so we are able to create in real time, as fast as I'm telling you this, a wave of support of a message. And obviously we were echoing and making it bigger, the words and the position of the president. This resulted that a press conference that we were waiting later on in Mexico City, immediately the head of government said, yes, we're going to go on with this because this is something that we need to get addressed. And we are talking about it right now with this, with Mexico City, this passing of the regulation that we are lacking. So those two are examples of how we mobilize and prepare and use opportunities and crises and events to create, to pass the messages that in other situations are very difficult to raise and very difficult to move our political class to take the decision that has to be taken to save lives. So thank you.
Thank you, Areli. And what a great example with such a positive outcome. Thank you for sharing that. And now we will kick it over to Rinki Sharma with India.
Thank you, Corina. I'm going to talk about the journey of current legislation, that is Motor Vehicle Amendment Act 2019 in India, and how we use the tactics of rapid response. So how the real-time actions and engagement tactics that help us in passing the most important road safety reform in India, that is the current law. And for that purpose, I want to take you back in the time, and I'll just quickly go through the timeline that how we as an like advocacy group, as an activist, we went through different stages and how the law came into the impact. So can I have the next slide, please? So this is the brief of the timeline. How it started in June 2014 with the sudden demise of the Union Minister Gopinath Munde in a road crash, which prompted the government for commencement of the new road safety legislation. So there was clearly a political will through which the reform started. So during 2014 and 15, the road safety and transportation bill, the drafting started, and the inputs from the civil society organizations were collected. In 2015 and 16, a group of ministers was formed. It was chaired by Mr. Yunus Khan to review the draft bill. In India, we have two houses, upper house and lower house. Lower house is known as a Lok Sabha and the upper house is known as a Rajya Sabha. So for the process of the legislation, bill has to go through from the both of the houses. So in August 2016, the bill was introduced in Lok Sabha, that is a lower house, by Union Transport Minister Mr. Nitin Gadkari. And by 2016, what started was as a road safety and transportation bill was transformed into the motor vehicle amendment bill. So that bill was introduced in August 2016. In late 2016, there was a parliamentary standing committee which wanted to review the bill, and it's a common process that we have the parliamentary standing committees on various issues, including the transportation and road safety. So the bill went to them for the review, and they asked for the recommendations. Civil society organizations like us and others who are the part of Road Safety Network in India, we also represented to the Parliamentary Standing Committee regarding our views on the bill. For the very first time, in April 2017, the bill was passed in Lok Sabha, that is a lower house. So you can understand from 2014 till 2017, continuously for 3 years, we were after the stakeholders to get it through from the lower house. Then again in 2017 and 18, it went to Rajya Sabha, that is the upper house. But unfortunately, in spite of all the efforts and in spite of political will, it was stalled in upper house. We were very disappointed, but we were not having anything in our control, because if something is not happening in the upper house, again bill has to go through the legislative process. Then it was reintroduced in lower house with revisions. Finally, in July 2019, it was passed again in the lower house with better provisions. And in July 31st, 2019, upper house also passed the bill with a lot of advocacy push. Finally, in August 2019, bill received the presidential assent. And in September 2019, finally, the bill came into impact as an act, that is Motor Vehicle Amendment Act 2019, where the provisions were notified and the implementation started. So in India, if something is notified by the center, then states have to adopt it, because it becomes a state subject. So from 2014 till 2019, the journey was full of up and downs. We have seen how it went through different stages, and we were having a lot of opportunities available for us to use the tactics of rapid response, which we utilized. So in the next slide, I'm going to talk about in brief what important rapid response tactics we have used. One of the most important tactic was the civil society activation, and we have highlighted here the ones in the red are the most important one among the others. We mobilized the partners across the India, all the civil society organizations working on the road safety, and the important bodies who were genuinely interested in the bill and also in road safety. We created the network called Road Safety Network in India. So it was the effort of not only a single organization, but of all the organizations who pushed for the change. And the previous, it's very important to mention here is that the previous act was of 1988, came into the impact in 1989. So imagine from 1989 till 2019, almost 30 years. So everything was changed. People, infrastructure, roads, vehicles. But why the legislation was not changed? It was a kind of a storytelling, as Arnold also mentioned, that, it's so important to tell the story. And it was a very important fact that why the change is not happening. So next is narrative reframing. So we highlighted the data from not just from the international bodies, but also from the national bodies. In India, it's the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, which is into publication of the road safety accidental reports, and also the National Crime Report Bureau. So we utilized each and every data point wherever available, whether from the international or national source, but first we authenticated them. And then we presented them into our personal stories by using the data and emotion. We humanize the issue. It's not just about the transportation. It's not just about the roads. It's about the safety of people. It's about how we are going to build the emotional urgency for lawmakers. It's about lives of people. We also used positive accountability and negative accountability, about which I'm going to explain in the next slide. So we highlighted the government efforts. We praised the government for all the efforts, and we tried to help them as well, so that we are going to reinforce the trust and going to encourage the political ownership. But we also use the negative accountability. So whenever there was a delay, we questioned the government that why it is not happening, why it is not important for you, why it is not the national priority. So we use the combination of both positive and negative accountability. Then the legislative outreach. So we use the support of grassroots, that is masses, and also most importantly, the top people who are in the top level position and influencers to the government. So member of parliament played very important role in this particular whole process, because they were not only representing their states, but they were also actively participating in the legislative process in both the houses. So cutting across the party lines, we reached out to all the MPs, irrespective of the fact that from whatever political party they were representing, we reached out them for the support of road safety, not for any political issue and all. And they, surprisingly, everyone came for a support for the cause. And that was a very good positive aspect of it, that they came for the support. Then we ensured that informed and supportive voices in the parliament. We prepared the narrative, we shared with them the data, that why we are asking this change to be happen. Everything we prepared. And then we reached out to the MPs from the states. Also, we took the support. So it's not just the center level, but we took the support from the states as well. Then we utilized the support of public, and they also wrote open letters. We did the survivor-led campaigns. So victims and their families, they came forward, they recorded the messages, They tagged the minister, they tagged the ministry, also the media houses. So everyone was giving their support. Then there was a real-time coordination because we went through so many stages, and for a whole 1 year, we went back from where we started from the scratch after the legislation was stalled in Rajya Sabha, that is upper house. So we utilized everything like WhatsApp messages, emails, and we tried our best to keep everyone updated that what is happening in the political scenario, what is happening around the media, how media is taking up this subject. We were very sure that we were supposed to go on irrespective of whether that's on the priority of the government or not. So that is how we enabled quick, coordinated, and adopted action. Can I have a next slide, please? So as I talked about the positive accountability, and here you can see the image of our minister also. We praised him when the bill was passed in lower house, and we also recognized the efforts of supportive MPs for pushing the reforms. Then we applauded the final passage in 2019 as a people first victory. And also you can see we also took the help of media, highlighting with, like you can see here, with only 10 days left, government working to ensure Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha pass key bills. So we tried our best to utilize every resource to ensure that our message is going to reach to the right person. Can I have the next slide, please? So in negative accountability, we tried to create a kind of a pressure and demand for the reforms. Here, we highlighted the legislative delays. Survivor and their families, they demanded the action, not the sympathy. And we utilized the data. 400 plus deaths every day. Loss of youth, GDP, and why there is a gap of 30 years. So why there is a delay on a life-saving law. As you can see here, this is a particular clipping I have highlighted here, where we actually highlighted why the government is neglecting the motor vehicles amendment bill. So as I said that we have used a combination of both positive and negative accountability as one of the tactics. Can I have the next slide, please? So what are the lessons, what we have learned, and what worked for us, and what it means going forward? First one is the crisis can open doors, but timing is everything. Timing is very important. There has to be a response, not the reaction. So we have to give the response according to time. Then there has to be a sustained engagement. Although we were frustrated and there was a lot of disappointment when the bill was not going through, but we all decided to push and not to feel negative about this. So sustained engagement is very important. Data plus emotion equal to power. So combining the hardcore data and using the emotions, that is going to give us the power. And honestly, the public trust is very important. That came from the real stories and facts. That is why we try to reach out to the road victims, road fatalities victims, and their families. We recorded videos. We try to publish their stories. So that's very important to involve the people into the whole journey. As I said, rapid response is not reactive. It's planned and ready. That is the difference in reaction. Whenever there is something happening which is not expected, how we are responding to that, that is our power. That is in our hand. So if we are going to plan and if we are going to give the response in a way it is required, then only we can achieve what we are looking for. Then the states matter. I I already mentioned in the previous slides that the response, it's not a center subject. It also the response, the support is required from the states, and the continuous engagement is required. So when we were asking the MPs to support us, we were reaching out to them state-wise. because they are the representatives from the states at the center level. So it's very important to have the voice of people from the states also, although even it's a center government who is going to do it, but it's important to involve all the stakeholders, whether from the grassroots or from the top level or from the center or from the states. So this is all about the lessons which we have learned. And I'm now requesting Cindy or Corina to take over from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rinki. Definitely wonderful examples as well for rapid response advocacy. Really interesting to see the chart and the different opportunities, because sometimes we might not think there is an opportunity, but if you mobilize quickly, then it can be. Now, we just have a few minutes. I want to open up the floor for any questions. I think we have 3 or 4 minutes. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them up in the chat if you have questions for Rinki or for Areli from their presentations and the rapid response communications in their examples. And while you think about any questions that you have, please put them there. On the last slide, you'll see that we have a survey for this webinar that we're hosting. It's a 2-minute survey. You can scan the QR code that you see on the screen, or I'm also going to put it here in the chat for you to take it. And these are really important to us because we want to know what you want to hear more about, what topics are of interest with the different organizations that you're working with and your partners. So we want to hear from you what topics are of interest, and this will help us plan out our future webinars. We will have a next webinar, I believe, in August. It will likely be focused on storytelling. So please, again, just let us know what your thoughts are and what your interests are. And yes, please go ahead and feel free to put up any questions or comments in the chat.
And Cindy, if it's all right, while we're waiting for a question to come in, there's just one more thing that I wanted to just quickly touch on.
Sure.
That A plan, B plan, C plan, D plan. You never know what's going to happen. You kind of have to plan for what happens if the power goes out. Well, we have a generator in the building. Okay, well, how much gas is in the generator? How long is that going to last? One of the things that I thought was a brilliant idea, my brother-in-law, I grew up in Miami, and I dealt with plenty of power outages due to hurricanes. My brother-in-law said to me, I always go to the phone company and get a phone book every year. I'm like, phone book? What do you need a phone book for? He said, because when the power goes out, I know who to call. Oh, there you go. I mean, literally, that man has a C plan for the power goes out a couple days, your cell phone's not working, you can at least get somewhere to a phone. You have a phone book, you can look up different names and numbers.
Sure.
Having an A plan, B plan, C plan, D plan. Oh my. Anyway, I yield to the wonderful young lady from Miami.
Yes, good example, good example. I think we are at time. Again, want to thank our speakers, want to thank Karina and Arnold for all your examples, for sharing all these rapid response examples with the different partners here today. And this recording will be sent to you via email. So we have your email from when you registered. You'll see the recording and the slides. And as always, the communications team is available for any questions. Oh, Rinki, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah. Actually, it's not a question, it's an opinion from Arnold. Arnold, you, being a journalist, I want to know your opinion. As you are aware, few days back, there was a plane crash in India. And in that crash, around more than 200 people were died. And in India, on roads, every day 400 people are losing their lives. So, do you think, from the media point of view, a narrative is like important to highlight that when there is such kind of a crash is taking place, people are talking a lot, and media is full of stories and reaching out to the survivor and their families. but why not giving the same priority to the road crashes? I just want to know that, do you think that comparing two hardcore realities is okay from the media point of view? And do you think that any of the rapid response tactic can be applied here?
Absolutely. I absolutely do. What I would say is you probably want to wait just a couple of days, maybe a week later, but certainly a comparison between 400 people a day and the 280, whatever it was in that air crash. Now, granted, they are two different events, but it's something that in terms of storytelling, that is super, super powerful. It really is. And I'm going to say that a good reporter is going to jump on that and say, whoa, you're right. Yes, we were all captivated what just happened. And I mean, the amazing story out of that situation was one person walked away, which is truly amazing. But how many people walk away on a daily basis? There's 400 on roads in India. That literally is a comparison where you can have an amazing narrative and amazing storytelling, and you should be pushing that. Yes, absolutely.
I would add, though, you have to be really sensitive in your language. It has to be a delicate line that you are in on if you're going to do that. But it's a very great tool. Yes. Just becomes a little
Thank
bit more
you.
complicated.
Thank you, Arnaud. Thank you, Sim.
All right, so thank you everybody once again. We are at time. We will all remain in contact. You will get an email from us if you registered with the recording and the presentation. Again, thank you to all the speakers and have a great rest of your day or rest of the evening.
Thank you
Bye,
guys very
everyone.
much.
Thank
Thanks for having
you.
us.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Adeli. Bye, Rinky. Thank you
Thanks,
again.
everyone. It was a great webinar.
Take care.
Thank you, Azim. Bye.